Hello, everybody. Wait, let me do that again. Hello, everybody. It's David. Good to see you again. Today I wanted to have something a little more playful, a little lighter, more fun. Recently we're doing some heavy videos, deep stuff, but life needs to be enjoyed too. And this is inspired by something real that happened last night. And I was like, you know what? Let me do a video about this. So I was in a Zoom live webinar kind of thing where this guy was a well-established, experienced hypnotist who would do past life regressions. And he's done like, I think over 1,000 clients or something like that. Like he's been doing this a while. And this particular webinar was just sharing about some different theories and possible like mechanics of how and why reincarnation might happen. With the presumption that it does, because that's his business, right? He takes people through hypnotic past life regressions. If you don't believe in past lives, that's fine. That's not what this video is about. After he had done his presentation, it opened up to Q&A for all the people who were in attendance. And I asked a question, just for fun, out of curiosity, if anyone he had regressed recalled a past life from another planet where they were an alien. And surely out of the 1,000+ people he's dealt with, right, there must be some good stories there. But he said that out of all the people he's ever regressed, not a single one has mentioned such a story. And because of that, it was his personal belief that we don't have past lives on other planets. Like, I guess Earth is it. Which, you might be feeling, oh man, if that's true, that sucks, right? Or maybe you love Earth and you're like, well, of course, why would you go anywhere else? But I do want to point out that other people in the audience were quick to point out in the chat, like, oh no, there's this other famous hypnotist who does past life regressions and they've had cases of that, and then other people are like, yeah, like I have past life memory, whatever. So like, but he had to speak from his own experience and he said no, he had no evidence towards that. But other people had counter arguments. And the reason I asked is a little personal, because I think I've mentioned this once or twice elsewhere, maybe in an interview or something. Me personally, I feel like this is my first time on Earth. When I tune into my soul and I tap into those memories, I feel like I've existed a long time. I even feel like I've been in physical bodies before. I don't think this is the first time I've ever had a body, but I don't feel like I've ever been human before. I've ever been on Earth before. Or if I have, it's been so long ago, like things look so different that you wouldn't recognize it as Earth today, right? Maybe that's what it was. But so I was curious, like, hey, am I the only one out of everybody here? Like, and when he answered saying, nope, no one has ever had a past life memory on another planet. And he even went so far to say, as in his opinion, that when people believe that their soul is from another planet, that it's a memory error. It's he called it a confabulation. Fancy word, right? So I was a little triggered by it, but whatever. He was respectful and he was just like, well, based on my personal experience, and you can't fault that, right? But then, almost because God has a sense of humor, or everything's in balance, this morning I happened to be just on YouTube randomly, and the algorithm recommended a video short from a lady who is a medium and a healer and that kind of stuff. And apparently she works with entities, spirits that are not local to Earth. She calls it, the galactic something or other. I don't know. I'm still new to her channel. But the particular video was about answering a question someone had sent her about the Pleiadians, which is one of these Starseed races. And are they among us right now, or are they coming? And if someone is a Pleiadian, can you recognize it? just by their physical attributes. And she was giving her answer to that, but to her, it was absolutely no question. She knew for sure, like, yeah, Earth is not the only place intelligent life exists. And that souls can, us spiritual beings can exist in other worlds, come from other galaxies even, right? And I was like, okay, well, that's funny. You get two extreme ends. And I decided to do a little homework here. Okay, so this is gonna be fun. All right, let me get my glasses here and do some science, okay? I looked up some information for you. Okay, so in our Milky Way galaxy alone, just this galaxy that you're watching this video in, they estimate there's between 100 and 400 billion stars. And with these new advanced telescopes we've got floating around in orbit now, we're able to see more and more further out and get better, very nuanced, subtle details on things. And if you've been keeping up with science news at all for like a decade now, they're like, oh, new planet discovered here, new planet discovered around that star. And it's becoming very obvious that most stars have planets, that our star is not like the oddity in the universe. It's not the exception. Like, it's very common for stars to have planets. Now, how many of those planets have water, or they're in the habitable zone, or it has any life or intelligent life? That's a whole other question. But let's keep going with the numbers here. Okay, so I thought, all right, 200, 300 maybe, just to kind of split the middle, somewhere around that billion stars just in our galaxy. If half of them had one planet, you're looking at like what, at least 50 billion planets in our galaxy. All right, but I know when you look up at the night sky and you see all those stars, a lot of them are not stars in our galaxy. You're actually looking at other galaxies way even farther away, and they've got a bunch of stars in themselves. So how many galaxies are in the known observable universe? Remember how there was 100 to 400 billion stars in our galaxy? Can you guess how many galaxies are in the universe? 2 to 20 trillion galaxies in our universe. Okay, now the numbers are just blowing my mind here, right? So if only a fraction of them have planets and only a fraction of them have habitable, like, the numbers are so huge. Even if the odds are teeny tiny, there's gotta be other life out there. So if you do the math, total stars in the known observable universe is approximately 200 sextillion. That is 2 followed by 23 zeros. That's a lot of stars. That's a lot of potential for planets and for life out there. And that's just in the known observable universe. We don't even know, like, could the universe potentially be bigger than what we're projecting and observing? There's arguments around that too. But okay, so do we have the raw materials to make life? We'll look at the raw building blocks that life is made of. And it's the most abundant elements in the universe. Like, so we have hydrogen, helium, oxygen, and carbon are the 4 most abundant elements. And if you go back to your high school chemistry class, you probably remember you mix 2 hydrogens with 1 oxygen, you get this thing called water. And I was curious, so I went a step further. I'm like, okay, just in our own solar system, forget the rest of our galaxy, just our star and the planets around it. Where has there been any other evidence of water on anywhere besides Earth? And I was like, well, I know Mars has signs of like where it used to have oceans and rivers and stuff. And I researched it, and I was actually surprised by just how much water is in our solar system. So Mars, like I said, on the surface, there's evidence of past liquid water, but today water still exists as ice at the poles and possibly as a briny liquid underground. Mercury, that's the little guy really close to the sun, which, talk about, and the side that's exposed to the sun, super hot. Any water would instantly evaporate off of that. but they detected water ice at the poles in these permanently shadowed craters. So even Mercury has some water on it. Venus likely had surface water in the past, but now only traces remain in the atmosphere. Even on our moon, Earth's moon, water ice at the poles and traces of volcanic glass and rocks. There's traces of water on our moon. Going further out, past the asteroid belt, right, we've got Jupiter and Saturn that each have multiple moons with water somewhere. So we have Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, global subsurface ocean beneath an icy crust. Ganymede likely has a deep underground saltwater ocean. Callisto, also around Jupiter, possible subsurface ocean beneath thick ice. And then Saturn, I'm not going to go through the whole list. Global subsurface oceans, surface lakes and seas of methane and ethane, but also suspected subsurface water ocean. Even going out to Pluto. Poor Pluto's not even a planet anymore, right? It's a planetoid. I'll never forget you, Pluto. You're always the 9th planet in my heart. Evidence suggests a possible subsurface ocean on Pluto, all the way in the far out edge of our solar system. Even ice giants like Neptune and Uranus contains large amounts of water in the form of hot, high-pressure ices deep within their mantles. Water is freaking abundant in outer space. And you mean to tell me Earth is where the only place life could possibly exist? But I did want to talk about starseeds, which I don't know too much about. I'm familiar with the concept. I've been accused of being one myself many times, even long before, I would say things like, yeah, I think this is my first time on Earth or something like that. People would just meet me, people who were very, sensitive to energies and psychic, that kind of stuff. They would look at me, they're like, you're different somehow. And I've been called a variety of things. Some people would say, oh, you're an Earth angel. I've been called a starseed. I've been called other random things. I don't know. I just know I'm here. I'm in a human body right now, and that's what matters. But one time I met a guy who he himself believed he was a starseed. I think he said he was a Pleiadian. I'm not sure. And he was looking at my energy and he's like, oh yeah, you're definitely a starseed too. And I'm like, oh cool, like which one? There's like so many different races that they've written books about, and there's websites like you can take quizzes. What starseed are you? What race are you from? And he wouldn't tell me. He's like, oh no, it's a journey. You gotta like investigate it and discover it and see it for yourself. So I went to these websites and I took these quizzes to find out like what starseed you are. And I gotta be honest, I very quickly felt like this was more of a fun personality test with a sci-fi metaphysical twist than like actual facts for sure, science of any kind. Maybe they're real, and maybe all the information about it is absolutely factual. I don't know. I haven't researched it that deeply yet, but my initial impression based on the figure out what type you are quizzes on the websites I went to, I was like, this is fun, but I don't know if it's true or not. It might be, but I don't know. I'm not convinced. Not yet. But I went through the quizzes. I'm like, oh, well, I have a lot in common with this race. And I would tell him that. He's like, no, that's not the one you are. I'm like, okay. Well, I have some overlap. I kind of associate and agree with what this one is talking about. Nope, that's not you either. Well, I kind of like these values and attributes. Nope, that's not your race either. They're like, would you just tell me what you think I am? And he wouldn't tell me. So to this day, I still don't know what he thought I was. But we'll go through this super quick. If any of those sound kind of interesting or curious, go search online and dig deeper and learn more about it. And who knows, maybe you are one of these starseed races. If you think you are, if you know you are, like, would you tell me in the comments? And like, did you always know, or did you just like discover that about yourself now watching this video? I want this to be like a fun game, and so here we go. Okay, we got, I don't know, like a dozen of these, so we'll go through them super fast. So Pleiadians, we've talked about, right? They're apparently from the Pleiades star cluster. Traits: Pleiadians are loving, intuitive, empathetic, creative, and sensitive. They're often seen as bringers of peace and spirituality with a strong connection to divine feminine and the Akashic records. Does that sound like you? You could be a Pleiadian. Next up, we have the Sirians. They are from Sirius A and Sirius B, the Canis Major constellation. Their traits are peacekeepers, guardians, bold, strong-willed, and passionate. They're focused on technology, innovation, and spiritual teaching. Often seen as natural leaders and healers. Could you be a Sirian? Maybe. Orions, from the Orion constellation. Gosh, these naming conventions are very clever. Notably, Betelgeuse and Rigel. They're analytical, insightful, justice-oriented, and scientific, known for overcoming challenges and embodying a warrior for the light kind of spirit. The Andromedans, which Andromeda is, I believe, our nearest galaxy, if I'm not mistaken, but it's not a star. It's a galaxy. It's a collection of its own stars. And they are known to be wise, creative, innovative, freedom-loving. They have a strong sense of justice and a desire to bring new ideas and technologies to Earth. Next up, we have the Lyran from the Lyra constellation, notably Vega. They are considered some of the oldest souls. They're creative, communicative, which I am not right now. I'm stumbling over words. And connected to the divine masculine. They're associated with ancient wisdom and often linked to early human civilizations, especially Egypt. So if that's resonating with you, maybe that is your Starseed race. Next up, Arcturians from the Arcturus star system. They're highly evolved, spiritually advanced, wise, and innovative, known for healing abilities and a strong desire to help others awaken spiritually. Obviously, a lot of these have overlaps because the principle is a starseed. I should have probably started with this. The general theory behind starseeds is they are souls that originally are from another place in the universe, another planet, another galaxy or something. And they have chosen to incarnate as a human on Earth to help humanity in some way. I believe there are a few of these races that maybe don't have such altruistic, good-hearted motives, depending on, what source you read. But, everyone needs a little drama and conflict, right? Got to flesh out the world here to make it interesting to sell books. But the vast majority of these, if not all of them, are here to help. They're loving. They're spiritually evolved. They want to serve and help humanity raise its vibration, be more peaceful, be more loving, join the intergalactic community of higher level beings, I guess. If you're a Starseed and you know more, please elaborate. Write in the comments. Like I said, I'm new at all this. Venusians, so our little sister world right next door to Earth. They're compassionate, loving, gentle, artistic, and empathetic. They're associated with love, art, and diplomacy, sometimes linked to ancient Earth goddesses like Hathor. Cool. I mean, Venus was the ancient Roman god of love, right? So that works. Mintakan from the Mintaka star in the Orion's belt. They are optimistic, empathetic, intuitive, and drawn to water, known as natural healers and light workers. So a lot of overlap, but I guess these guys like water more. The Blue Avians. See, I love birds. I don't have one right now, but I usually have a pet bird. This was one of the ones I was like, well, maybe I'm a Blue Avian? And the guy's like, nope. So I'm like, okay, whatever. They are from higher dimensions, not a specific physical location. And I think this is one reason why I associate with that, because when I tap into my own soul memories, like I said, I feel like I've been in physical bodies before, but I spend most of my time in a non-physical world, like in the spirit realm. Like that's the memory I have. We're almost through the list. We got just a few left. Draconians from the Draco constellation. Their traits, I mean, these are Dracos, right? So I think you see this coming, right? Strong leadership, intelligence, and a desire for control. Their purpose is debated, with some seeing them as guides and others seeing them as having hidden agendas, right? So I said, not everyone thinks all these races are necessarily for humanity's benefit. So these guys are, suspicious. Of course, the dragon-themed ones would be. Why not? because us humans, throughout our mythology, throughout our culture, dragons are sometimes helpers and protectors, and sometimes they eat you and burn your village. Third from the last, vegan, I guess. I read it as vegan because why not? But it's probably vegan, from the Vega and the Lyra constellation. They have a deep connection with nature and spirituality, believed to be among humanity's original ancestors. Interesting. And the, forgive me, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Maldekian? I guess Maldek, right. Origin, Maldek, a destroyed planet in our solar system, according to some beliefs. So the mythology behind here, the story is apparently, I remember roughly reading about them when I was doing the quiz for myself. They lost their homeworld. If I remember right, it was due to like a misuse of their own technology or something, but correct me if I'm wrong. Like it was a war, or the technology ran away from them and the self-destructed and ruined their planet, and now all those souls are kind of like displaced, and a lot of them have come here to Earth because they need somewhere, right? Their traits, they bring lessons about, yeah, here it is. So they bring lessons about the responsible use of technology and power, aiming to help humanity avoid self-destruction. So it's kind of like, guys, learn from our mistake, don't do this. So that's why they're here. And last but certainly not least, we have the Lemurians or Atlanteans. They are ancient lost Earth civilizations, aka Lemuria and Atlantis. They're deeply spiritual, connected to nature, and focused on healing and restoring ancient wisdom. That's our list. There are probably others out there too. These were just like the most common that came up immediately in my search. Are any of them real? Maybe. You tell me, do you believe in this stuff, or is this just new age nonsense? I really have no horse in this race, no stake in this game. I know what I feel inside myself, but I don't feel any particular strong affinity to any one of those we just went through. But I will say, knowing myself and what clues I do have, what I can sense and feel within my own soul, I wouldn't be surprised if I've previously visited some or all of those places, assuming they're real places, or other planets not mentioned here. Like I said, I feel like I've had bodies before, but this is my first time on Earth, so logic would dictate I must have been an alien on another planet somewhere. And like I said earlier, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is you are here now. What's going on in your life right now? What are you learning? How are you growing? What fun do you want to have right now? And it's fun to think about, consider, and learn about these things. But I guess my message is keep it at that point, to where it's beneficial to today, it's fun for today, it maybe helps you release something or process something or make sense of something in your life so that your life going forward is a little bit easier. But don't dwell on it, don't live in the past or the future, because the present is all you got. This is who you are, this is your life. That's all we're going to talk about for today. Thank you so much for sitting in and listening. Let me know, do you think there's life out there in the universe? Do you think any of the starseeds we went through on that list, or other websites that may mention additional names, do you think that's real? Or do you think that's just like, it's a cool idea, maybe it's a new agey metaphysical personality type exercise, but nothing more? Or maybe it's like absolutely legitimate and you believe that with strong confidence. I'm curious, like, what do you think? Like I said, I know very little about this realm, and I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you are a starseed, or you know someone who is, tell me about that too, because sometimes I feel like a weirdo in the world. I am a weirdo, and embrace that, right? One of these is not like the others. But it helps us to connect when you're like, yeah, I'm not the only weirdo. I'm not the only person who is a space cadet and goes off in these weird directions of thought experiments and explorations. So yeah, tell me what you believe, what you think, if you are one too, and which one. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. I'll see you in the next video.